you tell me what was the most challenging part of production designing for the sequel, which takes place in an autumn setting? You know, and the first movie was all about icy cold settings, and this one is about fall. What was the most challenging part?
Well, there were actually two things that were challenging. First, the fall color palette and making sure that our characters read off of it. But when you're wrangling a forest that is inherently organic by nature and random, to give that a sense of design, to give it a place that feels unique to our world and to our forest environment, it was a challenge to get trees, bushes, ground cover in a space that felt like a little sculpture. So once we figured that part out, we could multiply that and make a bigger forest.
All right. So production designing work involves a lot of research because your characters in the movie set in a specific geographical location in a specific time period. So can you talk about the kind of research that goes into it? In the morning, you also told us about how you had to bring out. You had to be faithful to the kind of fabrics found in, I suppose, Norway to dress Elsa. So could you talk about the research that goes into making?
Sure. Well, we on the first trip, we did a lot of research in the museums and looking at the costumes that were available to us to view. And I know historically Mike Giamo spent a lot of time looking at the indigenous costumes of the region, and from that I think it just rolled into your department.
We've sort of built a library of things that we know to be hopefully as accurate as possible to the time period. Things that would have been available like wools and velvets, those are pretty predominant in the world of Arendelle, and then we do end up breaking that a little bit with Elsa just because she is this ethereal character who can build her own costumes out of ice to some degree. So we have a little bit more wiggle room with, once we've established our rules, we can do something a little bit different with her and sort of isolate it to her.
All right. So I suppose you always wanted to get into character animation. You were inspired by Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Do you have a similar story? Like
Yeah,
You are correct.
yes. It was Bambi. I've always loved animals, and I loved Disney, and I wanted to be a critter. It seemed more fun when I was a little kid. I didn't like the doll thing so much, but I loved pets and animals, and that world was beautiful to me.
All right. And since you work across various departments, I understand, and you've also worked with the lighting department, could you tell us how you use lights to evoke an emotion?
Oh, sure. So one thing I found in all the years that I've been working is that color has emotion. And so we use that so that we can communicate to our audience. And I need to make sure that the colors I choose and the values I choose support the narrative that the directors are trying to tell. So we build a graph or a chart that shows all the hues and all the colors, and hopefully it arcs exactly with the storyline. And then we light it. So we'll take storyboards, and then we build it emotionally in color blocking, and then from there we do keys. We actually take the animatics or the workbook images, and then we put those colors on there, and we choose our lighting direction, and we make sure we have a color in the light and a color in the shadow. But it all tracks through. We have a roadmap that we build.
Okay. And when you're dressing a character, when you're giving her clothes or him or her clothes and hair, so you really need to know your character very well, right? So which department you work closely with to achieve that?
Oh, we work with basically the whole gamut of departments. There are asset departments who model and simulate and rig, and we have tech animation who ends up sort of adjusting the final performance of the cloths to make sure that it performs well. So we're constantly talking to all these departments. From the very beginning, we were getting feedback from technical animation to tell us whether or not what we were pitching as an idea was something that we could achieve in the final frame. So we really try to make it a group effort and try to communicate high-level ideas as well as possible, so shape language, so that people can execute it without having to recheck in with us all the time.
So did you always want to work in animation?
No, I didn't know that you could make a living doing it. It was kind of an accident, actually, and I got an interview out of school, and it was the first time I really realized that it was a medium that you could get a job at. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
always did.
I did. I sent in a drawing when I was 6, so that was my application.
Great.
Yeah.
No, I watched it all my life, but I didn't know you could. There was a job.
Yeah.
Did you get a response to that?
Actually, they put it on TV. It's a Little Mermaid drawing. It was on the Disney Channel. So yeah, it was sort of maybe in 20 years or so it'll work.
Great. It was really nice talking to you.
It was
Thank
very
you
nice
so
talking
much.
to you
Thank you so
too.
much.